Hello everyone, how are you guys doing out there tonight? I am going to wait and let some more people get in here. I'm going to wait and... Ooh. See if I can prop up this phone. Sorry about that. Hey Joker, how are you tonight? Can you hear me okay? Hi Michaela. Thank you, Joker. Hang on. Sorry about the interference tonight. I've been rearranging my office, so I've got stuff slung all over. Hey, Cam and Tate, good to have you guys on board tonight. Good to have you around. Farouk, thank you. Thank you for joining. Give it another minute or so, and then I'll jump into it. What are you guys up to tonight? Let me know. I will do what I can to catch you guys in the chat. Hey, Moon. Hissy Fits, thank you as always for showing up. I can always depend on you. I really appreciate it. Uh-huh. Sorry about that, Pimby. Man, if you want to catch the replay tomorrow, man, that's fine with me. Although I'd appreciate any support I can get during the live. I'll always take a replay. I do it with a lot of people's stuff. How did work go today, Joker? Well, anyway, Pimby, just FYI, I'm not planning on this being a long one tonight, so yeah. And man, if you have not checked out the Pemberton Boys channel, I implore you to check out the Pemberton Boys channel. Great outdoor footage of the wonderful state of Oklahoma and some of Texas and some Utah and some Tennessee. He puts a lot of time and effort into his videos, so I definitely plug him every chance I get. Hi, Brad. Yeah, Joker, I hear ya. It's kind of been a busy day around here too, so I appreciate you taking the time to jump over here. I'm gonna probably head towards Discord later. I don't know if you'll be around or not. I just got the feeling that this is gonna be one of those nights where I'm like on the internet all night. Still having quite a bit of trouble sleeping. I've been altering my diet and trying to alter some of my habits some, and it's not working out as well as I'd hoped, but alas, what do you do? No, the topic of tonight's live stream is snake relocation. I got a call from a guy in a place called Bristow, Oklahoma, which is about a 30-minute drive from where I'm at. And the gentleman is having a problem with a lot of copperheads showing up in his front yard. And what it is he has a big cicada hatching ground right in his front yard. And the smaller yearling copperheads, second yearlings and what, are climbing up his tree to snag the cicadas because that's an easy meal for them. Um, and think about it, without them, we'd have thousands of those bugs running around, and they would be annoying the hell out of all of us. What's a few cicadas? But anyway, my name got dropped as someone to help relocate the animals as opposed to killing them. And I want to say he's actually went off and killed 4 or 5 tonight. Um, he he didn't he didn't seem too enthusiastic about letting me help. Although he, kind of was like, what are you going to do with them? Like, I was kind of thinking, well, you hit me up. So, I mean, I told him, that I do, I re-release them in a safer place. Or, I do something, but I definitely do keep them alive. And he kind of seemed a little disappointed at that. Cam and Tate, phone at 2%, buddy. Catch the replay tomorrow. Don't stress it tonight. Brad Clark, yes, please make an announcement about rehoming your collection due to health reasons. If you give me the details in the chat, I will do my best to get the word out. Adventures with Squatchy. Squatching the daily vlogs. Remember, dude, I came up with that. Okay, I was the one to start the squatching trend. So, you better give me props. I give you your props. But anyway, back to the topic, and once again, try to definitely keep this one under an hour. I do relocate some snakes. It's a controversial practice because snake relocation isn't like relocating a raccoon, a Canadian goose, a bobcat. Most of the snake species that people want gone are generally venomous and or potentially dangerous species. I kind of understand their viewpoint. I kind of understand, they've got kids running around the yard. They don't want, 10 copperheads out in their front yard at all times, or at least throughout the middle of summer when kids are out there. And unfortunately, a lot of people do kill them. Relocation is never the best strategy, in my opinion. If you can teach the person to coexist with them, that's a far better option, although that rarely happens. A lot of times, unfortunately, people are just going to kill them if you don't want to remove them. Now, what science has taught us about like certain species of crotalids, certain echistrodon species, is that a lot of snake species, not all, but a lot of snake species do not do well when they're relocated. I've heard survival rates like 3 out of 10, 4 out of 10, and that's when you drop them off in suitable habitat that is free from human interference. And I want to say that one time I heard someone kind of give the example of, think about, you being from Little Rock, Arkansas, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, or Miami, Florida. And then you get dropped off in the middle of Los Angeles with no job, no food, no money to buy food. How hard would it be for you to survive? It wouldn't be impossible. but it would be challenging to say the least. I'm pretty sure that this is what science is finding out about snakes. I primarily deal with rattlesnakes and copperheads and cottonmouths as far as relocations. Most of the times, people are pretty able to rationalize, you letting a non-venomous snake coexist on their property. Although sometimes I have, pulled bull snakes, rat snakes, things like that off of people's property, and they're like, I'm going to kill it if it stays here. So I'm like, I take it. Guys, see Brad Clark's, let's stop here for a second. See Brad Clark's note, 3 Heloderma suspectum cinctum, I believe, with enclosures, 4 African soft fur rat colonies, and many extras. He does have all papers and records. I want to say, Brad, you're in Wyoming. Let me know if shipping will be available. And if you're interested in this or see this later, I'm going to go ahead and show your email because it flagged it. If anyone is interested in this and can't get a hold of Brad, hit me up through Instagram, Wagner County Snake Hunter at Instagram, or my email that's in the end of my videos, and I will do what I can to assist you in any way, because I know what it's like to kind of get in a spot where you might have 10, 15 animals, and then all of a sudden you can't take care of them. I've been there. It's not easy. Pick up only? Okay. See me, talk to me, send me an email, send me a message. If you're interested in Brad's deal, if you can't get a hold of him, get a hold of me. I'll do what I can to help. But anyway, back to relocation. Hey, Survival, I'm glad you showed up, man. Better late than never, and I always appreciate you watching the replay. I do lives because I get watch time out of them. For some reason, I feel I can make a spectacular 7-minute video. People watch a minute of it. I don't always understand YouTube, working on some things, but people watch my lives for a good chunk of them at least. So if you're watching this after the live, don't apologize for making it. I'm really glad that you made it. Definitely need the increase in watch time. And plus, I think tonight's subject will be somewhat interesting. But in the Quabbin Island study in Massachusetts that dealt with timber rattlesnake relocation, a group of scientists were going to repopulate an island that had no human presence with rattlesnakes, timber rattlesnakes, from an area they had been extirpated. And they surveyed the island, surveyed the property, surveyed the food sources, and even then they still estimated that they only expected 4 out of 10 rattlesnakes released on the island to survive. So if they're going to release 20 rattlesnakes, they're only going to have 8 survive, is what they're expecting for a best case scenario to establish a new breeding population. So that's kind of better than nothing, but it's still not the best outlook. Okay, the same thing happens with relocation. And what I do with relocation is generally, when I get a call about relocating a snake, I don't always take it because, like, half the times I can drive 20, 30 minutes to someone's house, the snake's gone, they've messed with it, they've scared it, it's a big waste of time. A lot of times I just don't even mess with it anymore. Brutus, you're like 14 minutes late, but man, don't worry about it. I'm glad you showed up, Brutus. Glad to see you hop on tonight. But anyway, so snake location is a bit tricky. Then you get known regionally as that snake guy, and people call you over copperheads in their garage that turn out to be western rat snakes or plain-bellied water snakes. And while I hate to see any snake killed, I generally have to evaluate you know, the project that I'm looking at getting into. Like if someone has a mass amount of copperheads in their front yard and they live fairly close, I will generally try to make it over there to try to help them. One, I don't want people killing venomous snakes just because they're venomous. Um, if I can find a fairly suitable area to release them close by, I do that. Now, once again, the legality of this alone is still kind of one of those up in the air kind of things because sadly, the game departments of a lot of states, and I believe mine included, I think they'd almost rather see you kill the animals than release them. Um, it's a sad fact. I know that when you take a species and you move it from one place to another, like especially with frogs, especially with turtles, and with some snakes, you can introduce new diseases into a population that weren't there before. So you have to mitigate these risks. It's really helpful to learn a little bit about snake biology, what species survive where. I'm pretty convinced that water snakes, garter snakes, things like that could probably survive just about anywhere they can get shelter. Um, I'm not exactly sure what makes them different than a rattlesnake that is almost 100% going to die if it, you know, gets relocated and it doesn't get to use its ancestral den. Um, I don't have all the reasons or all the facts, but what I do know is it has been an issue that has been studied by reputable herpetology people, and they found that overall relocation is not the best. Coexistence is the best. We also know some people just simply aren't going to coexist with rattlesnakes and copperheads. It's just not always going to happen. So, anyway, some of my videos, good point, Hissy Fits. Snakes usually do have a home range that they're kind of tied to. Survival in the Pacific Northwest, where you're at, there's a totally different attitude about native species than there is in a place like Oklahoma or down in Texas or over in Arkansas. You kind of face the facts that, like collecting rattlesnakes, releasing them somewhere else, even in the same state, may be a violation of hunting laws if done outside a season. However, someone could totally, um, kill 15, 20 rattlesnakes on their property out of season, and it wouldn't matter if you deemed the reptiles a nuisance. Now, in a state like Oklahoma, with a lot of agriculture, and I'm pretty sure Texas pretty much sees this the same way, like I can deal with any reptile that I deem a nuisance pretty much any way I want. I could kill it, I could set it on fire, could run over it with my truck if it's on private property. You can't go into a national park and do that or a state park and do that, but you can say a rattlesnake was harassing your dog and you can legally kill him any time of year with or without hunting license. Doesn't matter, it's your private property. I kind of respect that to a certain degree. I kind of think that that law is there to, I don't want to say prevent the game wardens from having to deal with nuisance animals, but I also wouldn't doubt that that kind of is the reason behind it. And also, these laws were made, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Rattlesnakes like the western diamondback and the timber rattlesnake and the prairie rattlesnake are still commercially hunted in Oklahoma. Thank God we've got stable populations of like the timbers and the atrox. Not a lot of timbers are taken, it's generally more atrox. are western diamondbacks. Also, very few prairie rattlesnakes are taken. They don't have, they don't range into the state as far as the western diamondbacks. So, luckily, we have some populations that have sustained the hunting so far. But but anyway, like I said, it's kind of a funny gray area because most scientists who um, speak on relocation of a snake, of most snake species, will recommend that you relocate it no more than a quarter of a mile from where you caught it, which means it's generally going to probably be seen in the same area if the people are looking or if they spend a lot of time outside. I wouldn't doubt that that really doesn't do a lot. Sometimes I've kind of just tried to stay in the same biome and like go, like take the country road over the ridge and release the animals down by the lake. A few years I let go like 12 baby copperheads in a place that sustains a lot. I wouldn't doubt that the majority of those didn't make it or became food for something else. It's kind of grim, but it's kind of like what they were going to die where they were at. So what do I do? Um, and one thing that offering to relocate a snake sometimes gives you the chance to do is it stock the lakes with copperheads. Exactly, survival. I do that. I do that all the time. Especially at my fishing holes. No, no, dude, I'm not kidding. I know you may be kidding. I'm not. I go to my good fishing holes and let go all the copperheads and rattlesnakes there. So the yahoos will stay out of my crappie areas and I continue to land record fish. No, I'm joking. But what I aim to do is if I catch like 5, 6 copperheads, something like that, is get them to a place that's as close by where they were originally found, but yet far enough out to where they will not come in contact with humans. Um, Brutus, I'm the same. Relocation really sucks. It really hurts the animal's chances of survival, but it does give an alternate when the other issue is the shovel or the shotgun. Survival. Yeah, you might not have a lot up there in the Pacific Northwest. I know you've got like northern Pacific rattlers in that state. I don't know if you're close by them. It's not uncommon for me to walk out on my front porch and find a copperhead. It happens quite frequently around here. And the further you live out in the country, the more venomous species you will see. I'm glad to see attitudes changing towards non venomous species like king snakes and rat snakes and things like that. And people say, let's let them, you know, um, live because they eat other venomous snakes. And a lot of times that's a good point, which going to relocate snakes, you can get in some education along with that. You know, like if I would have got to this guy's house tonight, if he would have made the invite final, I would have said, look, you're not going to see any copperheads. If we get these out of here, you're not going to see any for a year or two, but they will be back and they will be back stronger. And here's why: you're taking a predator out of the area in a microbiome, and they will have their food sources will have less of a challenge, so their food source will boom exponentially. And there's got to be a food source there, or they wouldn't be there. And so what happens is when they come back, they might come back more in force than they would otherwise. I want to say David Steen, has a doctorate in zoology, I believe, did a paper on his walking alongside wildlife page that dealt with this phenomenon with coyotes, where people would shoot coyotes and then they wouldn't see any for a year, but then like the second, third year, they'd see 40 times more coyotes than they ever did. What happens is, the food sources are going unchallenging, breeding, overproducing, nothing's there controlling them. So then animals move back into an area and wham, it's on. Yeah, Squatch, I'm with you. Relocation isn't ideal. Sometimes it's the best. Hissy fits. I've been there. I've kept animals before, and what I've done usually with like non-venomous animals that I've relocated, if I've got them out of a neighborhood and it's surrounded by neighborhoods and there's no good area nearby to release them where I feel like they're going to have a chance, I hold on to the animal and feed it and put word out amongst the local herp groups, wildlife societies, things like that. Hey, do you need a bull snake for education purposes? Do you need a rat snake for education purposes? Things like that, and try to rehome those animals that way. It is really a sad world when people in this day and age are scared of non-venomous snakes. I I personally understand the fear of venomous snakes, even though I don't have it. Just because I grew up around them, it's like just another snake. But it's good to know that we're making some progress. Survival. I'm honored that you stopped by. Survival. I try to catch every video you throw out. Man, head to bed. See you later, and I'll be sure and catch your next vid. Survival's a buddy of mine from another part of the planet. He's a good dude. Go check out his channel. I don't know that everyone here would like it. He does some mountain biking and stuff, and he gets some pretty good shots, I've got to admit. He does some GoPro action footage and things like that. Some good shots. And exactly, Brutus. Keep them close to the river because that's probably where they came from. Food, shelter, and the opportunity to survive. And ideally, yes, I preach coexistence wherever I can. I tell people when I relocate snakes, which I almost rarely do anymore, that, it's a temporary solution to a problem. It really is. It's very, very temporary. People have been killing copperheads in eastern Oklahoma since probably before statehood. I mean, I'm sure it's been going on for over 100 years, and there's still plenty of copperheads. Areas out west, I know, that get hunted for roundups, which I'm not saying I endorse, I don't. I do not like the commercial harvest of species in mass numbers. But even then, some of those ranches that get hunted for diamondback rattlesnakes still produce 400 pounds of rattlesnakes a year. So even though they're hunting them, they're somehow not wiping them out. I'm pretty sure there's some documented science behind the how and why it occurs. I don't want to delve into that tonight because I really don't want a rabbit trail. I do want to keep this live under an hour. But ideally, I'm going to try to educate someone on why they should learn to coexist with snakes. Basically, last summer, I talked to a guy who had bought a church camp not far from where I live today. And me and a friend of mine named Kevin, we went out there and checked out their property because they were like finding timber rattlesnakes all over the place. Hey Benji, how you doing? Glad to see you here. But they were seeing timber rattlesnake after timber rattlesnake. Well, I got out there a day later, and by then they weren't seeing them anymore. But what I found was this church camp was surrounded by this whole area that had like prime habitat for these snakes. And then the church camp also had things like, torn down buildings, piles of tin, old cars. And I pretty much, told the guy that, hey, we can catch and remove all the snakes that we can find here, but you're still going to see them the next year, the year afterwards. And I'm kind of scared that I left him with kind of a bad taste in his mouth, because at the end, there's not a lot I could tell him other than, hey, you moved into snake territory and you moved into good snake territory. You're going to see snakes. You're going to have snakes. Hello, Sherry. If you snuck in here, Michaela, how are you? Sorry I didn't say hi to you guys earlier. I might have been on a tangent. But one lady on a local neighborhood page in one of the communities by Lake Keystone on a copperhead thread, she is not a snake person at all. She doesn't want to kill them, but she doesn't want them up on her patio. But she finally just blew a gasket one night and started going off on people and said, look, if you live here, you're going to have copperheads. Get used to them. Embrace them. Deal with the idea of copperheads, because you moved into a place where they're simply going to be. And at the end of the day, she's very, very right. Rocky outcroppings around a large water source like a lake, you're going to have a fair share of things like tarantulas, centipedes, scorpions, venomous snakes. It's just, the more into their habitat you get, the more snakes you're going to have. There's just no real two ways around that. A lot of people are pushing snake repellent and sulfur. DEA, glad you could join. Sorry I dropped out of yours earlier. I caught most of it, though, I'm pretty sure. I think I was watching on mute at the time you hit me up, DEA. So, sorry about that, but I have a habit of playing your lives all the way through. And I really kind of dig the stuff you're doing with Gary. He's a good guy. But ultimately, relocation is not the best option. It does save an animal's life, maybe even temporary. Um, Once again, we know with a lot of species, they're not going to make it in a new area. That's just the simple fact of the matter. And that's one reason why I try to not do a lot of relocations anymore. It's kind of my dirty secret, so don't repeat it. Although I'm going to sit here and broadcast it. But I try not to do any relocation job if I don't think I have a chance of giving the person some education and things to work with. And I'm with you, Squatch. Learning to coexist with snakes is absolutely the best option. But and I know that there are people in your area, Squatch, that they're going to kill snakes if they're there, and that's when you kind of maybe relocate, or maybe you let them kill them. I don't know. Someone's thinking about relocating, they might as well just kill the snakes. Fudbuster, not always, but with some species, um, it sadly is about the same survival rate. Hey, Homestead, glad you made it in. Um, what we were dealing with, Fud, because you might have came in late and missed it, is certain species, like certain crotalids, like timber rattlesnakes, Crotalus iridus, um, they do not have a good survival rate when you move them away from their ancestral den. So, like, you can take a snake and relocate it to a new area, its chances of survival is going to be very slim. Not saying it can't happen or doesn't happen. Now, other species like water snakes, garter snakes, I think things like that do have a higher ability to adapt to new area. Rat snakes, they're another one. I think you can relocate and they do fairly well as long as there's good habitat. Will I relocate a snake if I found it on a dust road? No, generally I won't if it's not bothering anybody. I, you know, if it's not bothering anybody, no one's complaining about it. Generally, I'll just photograph it and go on. What I will do is busy road. Okay, if I see a snake on a busy road and I can safely get out and get my snake hook and flip it off the road or yeet it off the road, whatever, I will do that. I have been known to block traffic to get a turtle out of the road, or a snake or other critter. One thing I am really kind of sensitive to is a couple years back, I turned on my warning flashers and no one was behind me. And I went to grab a large snapping turtle and help it across the road because it just froze in the center of the road. And I grabbed the snapping turtle safely by both sides of its shell and was trucking it across the road. And I'm standing in front of my truck holding the turtle, and I hear this screech. This car behind me, even though I had on my warning flashers and I was not on a busy road at that time, almost rear-ended me, even though I was at a complete stop, and they could see that I was stopped for a half mile back. I think they were playing on their phone or something. And basically, I kind of came to the conclusion that people who care about snakes, people who care about turtles, people who care about wildlife, we need to survive ourselves. Because if we get killed in the road, who's going to be there to look after the animals or help design something that helps prevent that? The land bridges that are like going in all over Australia and some parts of the US, even though they're kind of few and far between in the US, seem to be working really, really well for a lot of species. They're putting game cams like on these things and finding out foxes, opossums, turtles, tortoises, snakes, all kinds of critters are using them. So it is definitely definitely cutting down on road mortality of snakes. And once again, though, I also evaluate the risk. There's a highway up by a city called Pawhuska in northern Oklahoma. Hey, Mr. J, glad you jumped on. Always glad to see you. And I think it's Highway 60, and it runs into Pawhuska. Then you can take 99 north and you head back towards Elgin, Kansas. It's a road that I road cruise a lot. And in these areas, there's like these wide fields on either side. A lot of the land is agricultural use, some of it's tribal land, some of it's cattle pasture. But what I've noticed is certain times of the year, like about a month ago, box turtles en masse were crossing this road. I shouldn't have really given out the location saying that, but then again, other people know about it too. Remember, box turtles are illegal to collect in Oklahoma. Please don't collect them in Oklahoma. It is illegal, and the game department will find you. Google search that. I know of a gentleman that recently got in some trouble with the law for, I think he poached like 50 or 60 box turtles, was shipping them out of state. The game department caught on to it and got him. I don't think he did jail time. I think he had like a fine in the tens of thousands of dollars. So, definitely be wary of that. But where I'm going with this is turtles you see crossing the road are oftentimes female, and they're crossing the road to find higher ground to lay their eggs to make a nest, because they nest usually a distance away from the water sources because they don't want a flood to come and wipe out their nest. So sadly, these are the turtles that become involved in motor vehicle mortality incidents, and they are that's the female turtle, and then the next generation. So you see where things like box turtles are becoming endangered really quick. Now, on a highway like 60 in Pawhuska, where you see some box turtles crossing, there's a lot of other highways in Oklahoma you see this as well. I sit there and think it's too busy to stop and get out and help the turtle in most cases. But then other times, okay, if I save the turtle's life this year, what's to say it's not going to make the same journey back, which it will, and then it's either going to risk dying then, or it's going to make the same journey the following year and risk dying then. The land bridge or the land tunnels, it seems like it would eradicate a lot of this if we could simply implement them in more places. I think we would have some really good success rates with them. But either way, to pretty much sum it all up, relocation is never the best option. Hey, 2 Metal, glad to see you in here. Keep it metal. Please listen to me while you do laundry. If I cut out here before long, please roll it back and hit the replay. I appreciate your support. Yeah, Joker, 2 Metals in here. We still need to get her hooked up. We need to figure out a way to all three of us connect. DEA, what state are you in? They put in some land bridges and tunnels up here, and they do work to save the animals. Metal is life, I agree. DEA, let me know what state you're in, because North Dakota, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking you were in North Dakota. And Brad Clark, they've got some in Wyoming. And, I'm glad to see that more of these things are going in. Two Metal, be looking out for Joker. He's going to drop you something. Joker, if she misses it, I'll make sure I snag it and get it to her. But yeah, in kind of in summation, basically, if the animal's going to die if it stays there, I don't see an issue with relocating it. Some scientists will I know some herpetologists, some big name herpetologists who have said they will not relocate a snake. They will euthanize it, humanely euthanize it where they catch it. If that snake has to leave, they would just as soon, euthanize the animal there versus, sharing a disease into a new location. My thought on that, though, is if you're going to take the animal a quarter mile, a half mile down the road and drop it off and introduce a disease to a new population there, are you not already potentially dealing with other animals in that area that could transmit that disease to that area? Because while we all know snakes, turtles, a lot of these animals have home ranges, something else to keep in mind is sometimes they lose track of where they are. They go somewhere they're not supposed to go. They don't make it back to the den. Um, During fall hibernation, they get turned around. We know that this happens to some degree. People around here might find a snake on their back porch after the first freeze of winter and the thing's dead. And we can only assume from that that either the animal is sick and didn't make it back to its den, it's disoriented and didn't make it back to its den, it was injured, didn't make it back to its den. Either way, the animal didn't get to hibernate or brumate properly and therefore died because of that. And it's an unfortunate thing to see happen. It is the natural world, and it does happen. Um, hey, Joker, something's coming back at you from 2 Metal. Um, Please, I hope you two get hooked up, because I think, Joker, we've got to pull her into our fold. But I'm not going to go on much longer tonight anyway. What I'm going to say is that I was going to say check your local laws, and I'm going to say no, not really, because you don't you generally don't want to go outside the realms of your local laws. I would totally collect rattlesnakes out of season if they were going to get killed where they were at. You're probably not supposed to with a hunting license. You're probably supposed to just legally kill them there. At which point the law does not make sense is the point I'm going to stand up to it. I can do the time if need be. I've got friends that will bail me out. It's always nice to have friends that will bail you out. It's important, kids, in life to have friends that will bail you out. If your friends won't bail you out, are they really friends? Or are they good friends and they're just really worthless and you need better friends? You need friends with more access to resources. Sorry, I'm starting to go off on a tangent now. A guy I used to be friends with actually got thrown in jail for animal cruelty last weekend. And everybody in the state supposedly loves this guy because he would never hurt an animal, and I don't think that he would. I think his former employer is letting him take the fall, is what I think's going on. But so far they've raised like $300 for the guy, and he needs like 10 times that much to get out of jail. He's been in jail for 4 days, and I don't know. If he didn't stab me in the back, I was telling a buddy of mine earlier, I'd go down and bail him out because I could do it. But he stabbed me in the back about a year ago, and so I really have no love lost for the guy. But anyway, the interesting stuff you learn on my lives. I'm sure. Oh God, yeah. And I can only imagine some of the Oklahoma gang watching this tomorrow and paying attention to that part. That would be a good time. But no, stab me in the back. I won't bail you out. If you don't stab me in the back and you're cool, I would help you if you're my friend. Hissy Fits, Brutus, Joker, you guys, I would always bail you out. Just know that. He doesn't get a Monopoly game. He can stick it out there on his own. Sherry, that's a great one. Love you, Sherry. Love that you're in here tonight. But I use relocation of animals to try to educate the people about the animals. Try to let them know that, hey, this is a bull snake. Here's a picture of a copperhead. Here's a picture of a cottonmouth. Here's a picture of a rattlesnake. See the differences? See, this one is yellow and has spots. None of the rattlesnakes do. Now, a bull snake can make a sound very, very similar to an angry rattlesnake. It is amazing. They do this thing with their epiglottis. Yes, thank you. Hit the thumbs up, everyone. Thank you, DEA. The bull snake can suck air through their epiglottis, and they can almost make this rattling sound. So, like 2 years ago, I had a bull snake, that my friend Heath caught, and the lady would not let it stay in her yard. She would not coexist with this animal. She was like, if you don't take it, it's dead. And Heath even told her, lady, this is non venomous. I don't care. It scares me. It's dead. So we snagged the animal, got it out of there, and we did some photographs and video right after this incident because this animal is putting on this amazing defensive display. It's not something you always get to see with bull snakes. And we get a ton of YouTube comments about, why did you harass the snake for so long? And it's kind of funny because we literally just saved the snake's life. We kept it from being chopped up for just being scary. And then we took photographs of it for 5 minutes, and all the PETA huggers went after us. If you're down with PETA, get the hell off my channel, please. I don't want you. I would rather lose you as a subscriber than know you're affiliated with Scumbag PETA. And get the hell out of my channel and go eat some bacon and eggs now. But some people are like that. They're absolutely not going to, care about snakes. I know people who kill water snakes, and I explain to them, it's a non-venomous animal. It can't hurt you, but it strikes at them, so it scares them. So they get scared, and so they kill it. Brad Clark, 99% of people in Wyoming don't give a damn about snakes. I can believe that. And Brad, I believe that because I don't think people in Wyoming probably get a lot of exposure to snakes. You see, like in my area of eastern Oklahoma, the most commonly encountered venomous snake is the broad-banded copperhead, or the eastern copperhead. We're in an integrated zone. And people will say, oh no, that's a king snake, let it live, because it eats the copperheads. And 30, 40 years ago, people would be like, kill any snake. Now they're at least making that jump to, this one can't hurt us, and it takes care of the ones that can. And they're putting that together. It's progress. It's slow, but it is progress. Yeah, pretty much everyone everywhere. Yeah, Joker, you're in Pennsylvania. You guys have got timber rattlesnakes, and you've got small populations of eastern Massasauga rattlesnakes. But they're almost so minute in population that I know people who have lived in Pennsylvania their whole life and searched for them and know about them and know their biology and the physiology, and they've never seen an eastern Massasauga rattlesnake. They're not I would say they're getting close to extinction in the wild. The timbers have a more stable population up there. And Joker, we have them here. They just look different down here. They used to be two different subspecies, and down here they were called cane brakes. Up there they were called timbers. Now they're just called timbers across the board. But we have the same thing here in the eastern and central part of our state. And Pennsylvania is fairly proactive about protecting them. Brutus, you've got a lot there in your state. So, yeah. And Joker, up in Pennsylvania, you have like the yellows, the greens, and the blacks. And we just have the same pinkish and green phase down here. You've got some diversity up in Pennsylvania. Not a lot, Patrick Sark. If you go live right after my live, I may try to make it. I don't see Derek in here, Benjamin. Which Derek are you talking about? And yeah, you guys do have copperheads in Pennsylvania. I definitely love the timbers up in the New England area because you have those rich, dark black ones, and then you have those yellow and almost green phase timbers. So, but anyway, science has studied them, and relocation is not always the best alternative for them. But, I do it sometimes when the opportunity avails itself. Once again, give away my trade secrets. I don't ever go relocate something without a purpose. I think I can educate the person. I think I can find some suitable habitat nearby. You know, you don't want to drive an hour to find out you're going to pretty much lock yourself into a hopeless situation. So that's kind of what I deal with when I think about relocations. Please read, please Google things like rattlesnake relocation, and look into pit viper relocation. Do some Google, or do some research on Google, especially Google Scholar, and pull up some papers by actual biologists and zoologists who have pit tagged animals and radar tracked them and relocated them. And they found out that sadly, a lot of the venomous species don't do as well as hoped. So that's kind of a little bit of a grim note. But that's the note I'm going to leave on tonight. I'm running into an hour, 56 minutes watch time. That's too long to listen to me. I'm really thankful for the people that made it through. And if you catch this in replay, definitely hit the thumbs up. Definitely share it if you want to, or if you have friends who are discussing the issue, share it with them. I invite you to leave comments in the live afterwards, because if you want to challenge something I'm saying, please keep in mind I've done a lot of my homework. But, like, let's say you want to debate a specific issue, let me know in the comments section, because I might not have communicated my point effectively. Sometimes I do that. We might be misunderstanding each other, or maybe we just simply disagree and we can leave it at that, or we can discuss our differences. But I do check my YouTube comments on this channel daily, 2-3 times a day usually, because this is my main one I'm trying to build, and the snake stuff is what I want to be known for. So please, if you're watching this after the fact, please feel free to leave comments. And I definitely will do my best to respond to them. Might take a day or two, but I will get back to you. But anyway, if there aren't any other questions in the chat tonight about the topic of relocation, I'm going to go ahead and kill this. Benjamin, I'm not on StreamYard. I'm just on YouTube Live. I'm not doing StreamYard right now, and I have to do StreamYard to bring people on. So we will have to do that, Benji. We'll hook up soon, and we'll try and do a live. I was talking about this with DEA Exotics earlier. Me and him have been trying to do a live for 2-3 months. We keep missing each other. Yes, Sherry, buy 3 motels and put them on Cleveland County Avenue in the name of a guy named Mark Parker. Free Mark Parker. That's what I'm going to say. He's a good dude who's got a bunch of friends who are deadbeats with no cash. That sounds horribly arrogant of me. I'm sorry. I would have been okay, but the dude stabbed me in the back, so, I've got to rip him. Yeah, spread that tin out, Squatch, because that could be a hell of a herbing spot. No, there has not been any successful work done on overcoming a snake's homing instinct. They want to go back to their ancestral den. They follow scent trails back there. in the species that we've researched that do use ancestral dens, like rattlesnakes, copperheads, things like that, they follow scent trails back to their dens, and they basically we've not figured out any way to retrain them to go to a new den site. I think with some relocation studies, the hope is that we can drop them off in places where suitable den sites are, and they can pick up other snakes' scent glands and hopefully, stay there and successfully hibernate it. DA, if you want to drop it real quick, you can. We don't like moving. Why should they? DA, that's on you. You can drop it now. Or, you can wait till next time. If you want to save it till next time, I'm totally fine with that, because I am getting ready to jump off because my voice is starting to go and I'm feeling it. I'm going to be on Discord later for my Discord family that hopefully I get to hook up with some of y'all over there. What are your thoughts on relocation? A lot of us have done it. A lot of us snake people have maybe not relocated 10, 15 copperheads or 3 rattlesnakes, but most of us snake people have gotten a garter snake out of someone's garage or a rat snake out of someone's attic. A lot of the people that will watch this will fall into that category of having moved a snake to, save its life, at least temporarily. I see where you're coming from, DEA. That's a really interesting idea. Yeah, and to everybody that's saying you hate moving, my gosh, I just moved into a new house, and while I love the house I moved into, I hope that if I ever have to move again, I get rid of a lot more stuff than what I have now, and I got rid of a lot of stuff. I've been working on cleaning up my office. You can't. If I angled the camera down, you could see more of it. I've cleaned up a lot of stuff in the office this week, so I've made progress. I'm kind of proud of myself, and definitely had a good time working on that this week. Homestead, that's not unheard of. What you're talking about, the problem is snakes that have been pit tagged, and when they've tried that is to release them at a new den site, they don't really get back there. As well as hoped. I'll say that. Some adapt to a new den site, but most do not. So Andrew had a good idea. DA Exotics, that is, he had a good idea. I think next time me and him go live, we might flesh that out a little more. It gives me time to look into the research behind it. Gang, I'm going to try and catch some of your lives next. I've been on lives all evening. And I'm going to probably be over on Discord for my Discord family that I hook up with over there. If you watched, thank you for watching. Hit the like button. If you get a question after this live, please drop it down below and let me know what the question is, and I will do the best to answer it, address it, do research on it. Doesn't matter. If you bring me a legitimate question, I'm going to try to get you a legitimate answer. I thank you all for tuning into my live tonight. Free relocation for a ball python. Oh, yeah. No, I hear you. Yeah, and 2 Metal for you, you're right. There has been research done on that issue, and they still kind of tend to go back to where they think they need to be. So, and some snakes, I'm sure that's different. What I'm talking about is generally your venomous species, copperheads, rattlesnakes, things like that we find down here in the south central U.S. Good night, Squatch. catch up to you soon. Gang, I'm going to try and catch your lives. I'm going to go ahead and end this here, and I will see you guys on Discord in a bit. So take it easy, and thank you.